I've seen a lot of talk recently about couples wanting their raw files, but let's talk about 5 reasons why you don't want the raw files from your wedding photographer. Now, commonly asking for raw files seems like something that you should just be able to do from the couple side of things, but as a wedding photographer of 10 years, I'm going to share with you the reasons why you probably don't want your raw files. And again, couples and photographers, sound in the comments and let me know your thoughts on the reasons why and why not of having your raw files. The first reason is a large amount of photos. Something that couples may not realize at first is that you're receiving a large amount of photos if you're asking for the raws. Generally, I shoot on 2 cameras throughout my wedding day, and each of those cameras are taking about 2,000 photos. So you're getting 4,000 photos, and this is good photos, bad photos, mid photos, just absolutely everything. And while there could be some good and funny stuff in there, you're getting like test shots when we're testing out our flash to see what it looks like. You're getting missed focus shots because everybody miss focus sometimes. Like it just happens. It's part of the job. It doesn't mean that we missed a shot. It's just the things you're gonna get. No one wants to sift through 4,000 photos. The biggest thing I can even tell you as a wedding photographer, we don't like sifting through 4,000 photos, but it's part of our job, and that's actually what you're paying for. So while it may seem nice to get the raw photos, getting 4,000 photos where a big portion of them are not just going to be good keeper photos is the waste of your own time as well. You're supposed to be going off, enjoying your photos, going on the honeymoon, and enjoying your new marriage, not sifting through 4,000 photos just because you want all of them. So, the large amount of photos is honestly my biggest reason not to want your raw files. But the second reason, which I already kind of talked about, is unfinished photos. Now, I'm going to throw up a bunch of photos here, just unedited and the edited versions, but you're talking about huge differences between what you're actually getting with unedited photos and finished edited photos. Photographers spend a lifetime learning how to edit and to edit well and coming up with a look, something that you'll be deciding on when you pick your photographer. We're not just slapping on some kind of Instagram filter, and while we use presets, those presets are ones that we develop ourselves most of the time and actually tweak to get the perfect look for our style. So your before and after pictures are a huge difference. And let's not even talk about retouching, getting rid of pimples or blemishes and things like that. We do a lot of that stuff and it takes time. Even if we're using AI tools to help us do this stuff faster, it still takes a bunch of time and it's something you as the couple is going to have a harder time doing than we are. So you don't want those raw unedited photos. They're not going to help you out with anything. It's just going to feel like a bunch of trash. The biggest thing to remember is the way that we're shooting our photos is not the same way that you're taking a photo with your iPhone. The iPhone itself is actually kind of editing the photos beforehand while it takes the photo. And this is a huge thing to remember. A lot of people will take a phone photo and say, see, you see how it looks so much better than yours? That's because it's actually edited. They have AI stuff running algorithms on your photos while you take them. It's very different than us having to take it back home, load it up, back it up, and then edit it. It takes time. You don't want the raw photos. You don't want to have to do all that work. And speaking of your phone actually editing your photos beforehand, the third reason you don't want the raw photos is because of the raw format. The raw format is basically the majority of the information of the photo that you're receiving when you take it, and not a baked in version that has edits on it already like a JPEG. What this means is a lot of time raw photos just don't look good. They're not color graded, they're not exposed well. There's a lot of things about raw files that just are not going to appeal to the common person who doesn't know anything about photography. So while you think it may be a good idea to ask for your raw files, or maybe online you saw somewhere that you should ask your photographer for the raw files, it's not going to generally help you. Like, look at the difference here between this JPEG and this RAW. This was taken with the same camera, except with the JPEG, the camera is running its own algorithm to get a look baked into the photo, so technically kind of edited, whereas the raw photo has absolutely no editing at all. Clearly, everyone's gonna go for the JPEG version of the photo because it looks much better to the eye, but a raw photo has to be worked with. One of the biggest things I like to use as an analogy is it's like if you went to a restaurant and wanted to order a steak and like a baked potato or something, and you were just like, yeah, give me the steak and the baked potato. And here comes a raw potato and a steak. And it's like, what are you gonna do with that? And while, okay, you can cook it, the reason you're at the restaurant is for them to cook it, for them to cook it with whatever kind of seasoning and special sauces that they specifically use and are known for. And that's the same with the photographer. Asking for the raw files is like, give me the raw steak. You don't want to cook it. That's why you hired us. If you wanted to cook it, you take the photos yourself. Same with the restaurant. If you wanted what they're offering, you're there for them to do it. Not, oh, hey, I want the raw files and I want to be able to edit them myself as well. So that's something to keep in mind. The fourth reason is the files are huge. Nowadays, cameras are coming with large megapixel counts and the photos can be huge. And the biggest question for anyone who's not doing photography professionally is, do you even have the space on your computer or an external hard drive to support that? Sometimes I shoot whole weddings on the Fujifilm GFX system, which is 102 megapixels. Even when I truncate the files and make them compressed lossless, I'm still dealing with like 50 to 70 megabytes per photo. I use a 256 gig SD card on those cameras, two of those cameras, four of those cards. So you're talking about receiving 500 gigs of photos half the time. Like, that's a lot for most people's computers. I don't know about you all, but I have multiple external hard drives and NOS systems just to back up all these photos, because every wedding I come back home from, I'm dealing with at least 200 gigs, if not more. So if you're asking your wedding photographer for the raw files, just get ready for a big whopping like 300 gigabyte file, like a zip file of all of the photos, and having to download it for 50 years if you don't have some kind of fiber connection. And again, it's really not worth it, in my opinion, to go through all of that just to say you have all of the photos. Again, we're trying to call out the images for you so you're getting the best and you can sit down and look at those amazing photos rather than having all the scraps and the throwaways that no one wants to go through anyway. Also, with raw files, they're a special file type, and a lot of the times OSs don't really like to deal with those file types. I can't just give you a raw file and you can pull it up on your phone. It depends on where it's from, but for the most part, this file is not a stacked and ready to go photo file for you to use. You need to throw it in a program like Capture One or Lightroom, edit it, and then export it as a JPEG to get it more usable. Even as an example, macOS still doesn't like Fujifilm RAW files, which are their raw version, and they just don't show up in the Finder. So I can pull them up in Finder and I can see the files, but if I click on it to see a preview, there's nothing. And hopefully that'll change soon, but that can happen with a lot of your different raw files. And the fifth reason, again, and I've said it before, you're paying for these photos to be taken, edited, and backed up. You're paying for that. So there's no point in actually getting the raw files on top of that because you're not gaining anything extra. It's almost like if you went to go buy a house and you asked the last family that was there to like leave all the junk. Leave all the things that you're not going to take with you to your next house. Just leave them in the house because I want that in the house. And then you're going to get into the house and just have all this stuff and be like, this ain't good. And like, that's what you're going to see when you see the raw files. Again, you're paying for this stuff. We take multiple hours to cull through your photos and get the best photos for you so that you don't have to deal with 4,000 photos just to see the best ones. We back up your photos. Again, I have multiple external hard drives. I'm shooting on 2 SD cards on your wedding day, and I'm backing it up twice when I get home. Most people don't have such a large backup system, so when you're getting all the raw files, you have them and you'll probably lose them. Hopefully, God forbid, you have a hard drive failure, but these are all things that happen. So if they're not backed up, it's kind of useless having the raw files anyway. And also, our edits is a big part of that. It's saving you time. And at the end of the day, that's how I look at a lot of things in life right now. When you're paying for things, you're really paying to save yourself time. If you want to park at a place that's closer to your location, you're saving yourself walking time. If you want to buy one of those services that delivers food to your house and all you got to do is warm it up, you're saving yourself cooking time. And it's the same difference with your photographer on your wedding day and the photos. You're saving yourself going through all the photos, looking at photos that don't look good, and having to edit. That's what we're doing for you to save you time so that you can actually enjoy your photos and enjoy your honeymoon in your new marriage. These 5 reasons are extremely important, so understand when you're asking your photographer for raw files. There are times when you should ask for raw files. They're very few and far between, but just know a lot of times they come with an extra charge. And if you just want to have everything, I get it. But just know it's not for everybody. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Photographers, let couples know what you think. And couples, let us know why you ask for the raw files. With these 5 reasons in mind, would you still ask for your raw files? Also, if you want to see a wedding photographer working in real time, definitely check out my playlist here of full wedding day behind the scene videos.